Who's going to take care of your parents as they age up and need a little extra care? Or have you made the leap and wondered who's going to take care of you, of all of us as we age? Do you know in America today there are over 43 million unpaid caregivers for family members, and the number is only going to keep going up. Caregiving is the new frontier. It's something most of us know little about, and we get thrust in it with no training and then wonder, how am I doing? What can I do to do it better? Well, we're fortunate today to have an expert in caregiving. She's known around the country for her organization called Positive Approach to Care. And really, she is a lifeline, just a breath of fresh air to people that are trying to do the best they can in a very difficult situation. Teepa Snow, welcome. It's great to have you.
It's wonderful to be here.
Did I do okay? Did I kind of set it up the way it is out there?
Yeah, I think what people don't realize when they're getting into it is how much is involved in care provision when someone is aging, either for yourself or for someone else. Because there's all these different aspects. There's the financial aspects, there's the health aspects, there's the housing aspects, there's the social and connection aspects, there's the brain health, body health. I mean, it's sort of overwhelming when you look at the mountain range that goes into providing life for yourself or for someone else. And then when you start talking about, but they're changing, and they were doing okay like they were, but I'm noticing, woo, this isn't working like it did before for them or for me. So now I've got to juggle some new balls for them and for me. And it's complicated.
Do you find that most of us think, well, sure, if my parent or loved one needs it, I am there to step up. And we all say that at first, and it isn't until we step into that world that we realize, oh my God, this is so much more than I expected.
And particularly when we have something like a chronic illness or a progressive condition, where if you get your head around it to start with, you think, okay, got it. And then something else happens, like someone has another little stroke, or someone's Parkinson's gets more severe, or someone's brain changes become something from mild cognitive to full out dementia, or my sadness about dad dying now becomes depression or anxiety. So all of a sudden, I'm dealing not just with changing a little bit, we're talking about massive amounts of shift, either for you or for me or for both of us.
Do we need to think about caregiving before we're thrust into it? We don't really. I mean, it's one of those things that...
It's like, see no evil, hear no evil. Yeah, I'll be okay when... I'm good with the internet. It's like, yeah, me too. But this is not about the internet. This is about us negotiating how we're going to live our lives after this shift, or during this shift, or are we going to make a shift? Even the healthcare system isn't ready for this triad of support versus the medical provider and the person. Yeah, but now we have third party. And so having to get all that lined up so that you're in a good place. How about legal issues? Do you have the right to? Do you have the responsibility of? If I take on your financials, did I put it in the right place so it doesn't count on my financials? And if I'm doing mine, do I impact yours? So, and that has nothing to do with healthcare, but it does.
Yeah, and I think the thing about caregiving is, even if you're not the person that does it, it still affects you.
Oh, my
there
heavens.
are family dynamics. There's this one line that every one of us in our lives always says, I am never putting my parent in a facility.
That is, if we could tape your lips shut on that one, I'll never is a big mistake. As far as I know, I'm not thinking of it now. I can't imagine it. That's a very different statement. And I think if we could get ourselves to say, I can't imagine that, and then make ourselves look so we could imagine what might get us there, so that we don't make crisis decisions, or we're not making them Friday afternoon at the hospital when they say discharge is imminent. You can either take her home, take her to her house, or place her in a place for rehab. And it's like, but can she stay longer? It's like, no, she's done in the hospital. I don't need her in the hospital anymore. And you're like, but I have to go back to work on Monday. It's like, okay, so now you can imagine I need to make another choice.
Is there a typical caregiver's journey to where, okay, we've we're thinking now that, oh, somebody's going to need to watch them. And well, it's going to be you because of your life situation. I have no experience. I have no training. I think, well, okay. The next thing I know, I'm in too deep. I'm getting frustrated. I feel stuck, cornered. And this doesn't even address whether or not I'm caring well for.
Right, for yourself or for them. I think there are a couple of pictures that we frequently see. One is freight train. We knew it was coming, we sort of got it, and now it stopped at our house. Versus, had no idea this was coming, and all of a sudden it hits me out of nowhere. And we have then on top of that two scenarios. Who's nearest and who's best at? And sometimes we make decisions on proximity, not skill base. And then we're into it and we realize, oh, this is a really bad matchup. But they're close. So they were the one chosen. And now we're trying to go back and re-examine what we did. And it's so much harder to refit something than to think it through to start with and go, okay, even though Mary is closest, Sue is the best decision maker when she works with mom, not with dad, but with mom. And yet she's the one with 3 kids and a job. So how are we going to do this? What role could each person take? And the idea of team building with families, or saying, I don't know if it's going to be my family. I'm not sure my family can come together. I'm going to need some new people in my life if I'm going to do this, because our family has never been that kind of family. And they aren't going to suddenly go, magic wand, and now we will be the perfect family for caring for mom. It's like, when is that going to happen?
Well, it's not just the perfect family. I'm guessing that a big part of caregiving is having the person that needs the care accepting it. I'm not moving into your house, or you're not coming in here. I'm fine.
Or, I thought I would move in with you. Your brain goes, do you know what happens after we're together 3 days? I mean, let's remember how we get on each other's nerves, and how can we deal with that? I mean, if you're going to be with me, we need to rethink how we're going to use our space and our time, because we don't match up that well.
So we've put just in a few minutes put our finger on some huge issues that could blow families up. So what do you do? How do you find guidance? Where do you get help for all this?
So I usually encourage people to look in the mirror at themselves first and say, okay, what if happened to you? Something happened to you. Who would be your support system? How would you do that now? And then imagine one of those key people not available. How would you shift things? And so what's the array of things you need to be thinking about for you? And now that you've thought about it for you, let's hold the mirror up and say, so Dad, I've been thinking about for myself if something were to happen. So tell me a little bit about what you're thinking with this, and this. And so I always start with, tell me what you think with the other person, so that I hear their first thought. And it's like, well, I haven't ever thought about that kind of thing. It's like, so you haven't ever thought. So you're 82 now, and I'm this, and I'm just concerned with your diabetes and your heart disease, that things could change. And I don't want us sitting here not thinking. What do you feel or think about at least having some kind of plan in place? Even if it's just, I start paying attention to what happens when you go to the doctor. And it may be, I call them baby bites. I mean, they're tiny little bites out of the apple, particularly for people who struggle with, I'm me, I don't need you, I don't want to be a burden, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I mean, it's everybody. So how do we start these conversations in ways that are not confrontational, but are supportive? And if I look at me and then I turn to you and go, ugh, I just realized I don't have any plans. Have you done anything? I mean, do you even have a healthcare power of attorney identified yet? Do you have a will? I mean, I just realized, oh my gosh, I did a will, but it's been so long, I never updated it. And that's a better conversation than, Dad, you haven't done your will? Are you crazy? I mean, what if something were to, I mean, that's this.
So basically what you're saying is, don't start dictating to somebody, empower them to be part of the planning process.
Yeah, and again, I say by looking at your own mirror and going, if it were me, what would be important to me? And then I can say, no, if this were me, this would be what was important to me. What about you? And so it's called sharing versus telling. So I share what I'm thinking and I ask you, what are you thinking? Because it's not about me trying to manage you or take over for you or try to help you. I'm doing this. What are you doing? And it's just a question. And if the person says, I don't need you asking me that, that gives me a real heads up on, uh-oh. Ooh, this is going to be even harder than I thought it was because now Dad's telling me he doesn't want me involved, and I'm it. I mean, I'm an only child, or my brother has issues, or Mom's already passed, and I need help. And I need to go get help before I try to help, because if I keep doing this, I'm building a wall between the two of us for communication. And any caring I do is going to be harder and harder and more exhausting for me.
I think what I hear you say is that even before we talk about caregiving, what we're really defining is respect, independence, maybe even dignity.
Yeah, and our assumption that I will help you, it's like it's got to be a mutually beneficial relationship for most of us to want to engage in it long term. I mean, why would I want to always be beholden to you? I mean, that idea of wanting it to be fair in some fashion or shared in some fashion.
So you could have chosen a lot of different paths. You could have been a caregiver for people who have bad knees. Somebody who's got a sore shoulder every once in a while. But you specialize in people that are dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that, which really is the hardest by far. How is anybody not even prepared, but how is anybody even capable of helping a loved one through this journey?
You can't do it alone. I mean, and I think that's one of the most important messages. All we'll do is have two people starting to have brain changes that are unhealthy brain changes. And in 40% of cases, we actually can lose the care provider, the care partner, as a care provider long before the person living with dementia dies, because they've exhausted themselves. They've exhausted themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually, and they don't realize how deep they're in until they're drowning. So that dynamic has got to stop. I mean, this is not a condition you can do with just two people. You've got to have a third party so that the partner gets a break, can recharge their batteries, and this person living with dementia gets used to another human being in their life so that it's not a solo thing, and we can't, it's just not possible. And we've watched it for generations, and all we do is within a year, it's not uncommon to bury the spouse. It's not uncommon to have care issues for the other person who had been the primary, because we keep ignoring the reality of you cannot lift up and carry another human being 24/7, day after day, week after week, month after month, or in some cases year after year.
So let's look at it from, okay, there are issues.
Yeah.
Boy, it sure seems like they're forgetting a lot of things. They're not knowing. They're getting lost.
Yeah.
Is there an issue with the person accepting the fact that they need a caregiver, that this is indeed happening to them? I'm just forgetful. It's not anything
so you're
worse
just
than
feeling
that.
forgetful. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it's anything big or different. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, when you say forgetful, so what, again, I go back to tell me your perspective. And here's the reason. It turns out that approximately 50% of everybody who develops brain failure, which is what dementia is, brain failure, 50% of those folks will have damage in a part of the brain, in the prefrontal cortex, where you can judge your own abilities based on current status and situation that you're in. And it's called anosognosia, the inability to be self-aware. I can't do it because that part of my brain is not doing its job anymore. I think I'm fine. I've done it before. I know how to do it. I'm fine. Why are you telling me I need help? I am fine. So 50% of people who get dementia have damage in that area. So it's not even a willfulness or a ignoring data. They can't get the data in and process it. So in 50% of cases, you're hitting a brick wall.
So it's kind of a hostile situation.
Yeah, so if you're not careful, you get a lot of arguing and frustration, and you just feel like you're not listening to me. And it's like, yeah, they're not listening because they can't get what you're saying. And it won't matter how many times you present them with data. You could show them the car damage, you could show them the money lost. They would come up with reasons and expectations because their brain cannot do it. And so what are we going to do? We need a totally different approach for those people than the people who go, I'm really starting to notice things and I don't like it. I'm not going to do that anymore then. I'm just going to quit doing things so I don't. Now that's avoiding, or I need help. Can you help me? That's great, because then we're on the same page where you know you need help. I can provide some support. I just got to remember I can't do it alone, and I want to go ahead and build a team early on. So does that help sort of set the scene for 3 situations?
We started off the interview.
If you had 2 cars or more on finance between 2015 and 2021, you could be owed
interview by talking about an organization that you've put together called Positive Approach to Care. And the name, people go, oh, right, positive, that's the most difficult thing in the world. What is Positive Approach to Care and how does it help?
Yeah. So rather than noticing what everybody's missing, we do pick up on it, but then how do I use what they have left? So if you still have language left, when I say, so tell me what you're noticing, I'm fine. So you feel like everything's going fine. So when the car accident happened, that was due to the other people and how fast they're going? Yeah, they come up right behind people and they don't even let you know they're there, and then you move and whack. Yeah, so I'm wondering whether they're idiots or something, and whether it's safe with them out on the road. I'm going to ask you for a big favor. When we're out together, I want you to ride in the passenger seat for me and tell me when you notice them getting there, because that would really help me know whether something might be going on with vision or timing or speed of reaction.
And I
or
can hear
something.
caregivers all over saying, well, that's a great approach, Tifa, but the one I have time for is give me the car keys.
Yeah.
You're done.
And I know how to call AAA or get another set made or go buy a new car. You are not the boss of me.
So what happens is you're triggering an adversarial relationship, and that's a no-win for both sides.
And I have enough skill to get away with it. I also have enough skill at this point in the disease frequently to convince a lawyer and a physician that you are not the boss of me.
It almost sounds like it's only manageable if you're some kind of great psychologist and have had a lot of training, but I guess basically what you're saying is try to make things a conversation instead of a boss child or parent.
If you're not good at it, what do you think you might want to do? I need to talk to my mom about this. I know it's not going to go well. I've brought it up before. Then let's not have you bring it up again. Let's bring in a third party to talk to the 2 of you and maybe add that in early on, because we don't want you being the bad guy. I want somebody else to be mean, and you say, wow, this is really bad news, Mom, so he doesn't want you driving right now. I hate that. This is really hard to hear that.
Another thing we do is when we have a loved one who has an issue, dementia or not, I think we tend to want to just keep them at home, wrap them in bubble wrap, and never let them see the light of day again.
Yeah, and one of the things you don't realize is you're also putting yourself in bubble wrap, and you're going to exhaust yourself with that guarding and that sort of monitoring. And they're not using the brain they have, because brain failure happens over time. And the less I rehearse, the quicker I lose. And so it turns out when we isolate and when we don't rehearse, we actually lose brain activity and brain function and actually brain cells at a more rapid rate. And we become more distressed because we see the change, and this then starts spinning out of control, and we're so frustrated, and yet learning to build a community that actually can support us and accept us. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose people who you thought were people who would stick with you. They won't. I mean, that's a reality with this condition. There's such stigma. It's still there. And so I didn't know what to say to him, so I quit calling. Instead of, hey, John, it's Teepa. I'm not sure if you remember me or not. I went to the same faith community you went to, and I wanted to know whether or not you would love to go get some coffee. I just wanted to ask you something. It's very different than, don't you remember, John? We both went to the same, no, we were in that same class. Don't, and it's argumentative versus supportive. And that's what we're about, is teaching people how to do these simple things that matter.
You talked about a stigma. There's a lot we don't understand. What are three things? Three things that you, if you could grab us by the lapels and shake us, three things that you wish we understood.
Dementia is not about memory change, it's about brain failure. And it's this idea your brain is gradually chemically and physically failing. So every moment in time, it could be different. So don't come into this relationship thinking you know what they're going to say, what they're going to do, what they will or they won't, what they can or they can't. Be willing to build a relationship of a moment and to realize that moment may never come again, or you may get it again because you built it. Because people living with dementia remember how they feel about you better than what you exactly did with them. So if I like you, I invite you back, even though I don't know who you are, why you're here, or those kind of things. Versus if I don't like you, I want nothing to do with you. So how important is it then to have a relationship versus get something done?
You have a great quote, and I don't want to say it myself because I want to hear it come from you, and I don't know if you'll remember, but it's about dignity and dementia.
In my work, what I find is dementia doesn't rob people of dignity. It's our reaction to them that does that.
We, in effect,
we take away
rob
their
them of
dignity because we say and do things that make people less. Dad, what are you doing? That's not what I told you. What did I tell you the last time you asked me? You are not able to do this. Let me help you. And versus, hey, Dad, right here. Look right there. There you go. You got it. Very different way of being. Ooh. You going fuzzy or maybe a shave? What do you think? Is a very different approach to, Dad, you haven't shaved for 3 days. Don't tell me you just shaved. You did not. It's how we do it and how we sound when we do it that either robs people of a sense of, well, I am who I am. And it's like, yeah, no, you're not. See, I can point out all the ways that you're not you. And it's like, let me find you first, and let's figure out how to keep you feeling like you.
So let's start to wrap up a little bit and summarize. The most important things to remember is that it shouldn't be a one-on-one. This person is living with dementia, you're going to help. This is not going to happen because the disease takes us apart. So we're going to need that third party to help us figure this out and to build new relationships early on. And what I like to do is say, these three fingers always work together. This is the median nerve distribution from your spine, from your brain. And these are called your skill fingers. These are your strength fingers, and you'll want some strength, ulnar nerve. And those are the other people who can support outside, but they aren't maybe as intimately involved. So you'll need a partner who can help you with this person, but then you're going to need others who maybe support you or them or both, financially, legally, trying to divide the pie up a little bit. That's really vital. Are you worried about where we're headed?
Oh, yeah, because I see the numbers going up and I don't see the support shifting into prevention, into management, and this idea that we're going to cure this thing by 2025, which is the national plan right now, we're not going to cure dementia by 2025. We'll be lucky if we find one or two types of dementia that we can have some impact on. People are working incredibly hard at this, but every time we figure something out, we find out, oh, well, that's wrong. Now we got to go back to the drawing board. And this is complicated. So I just want us to start to recognize we need to look in the mirror at ourselves and realize our stressful lifestyle, our sleep deprived lifestyle, our socially isolated lifestyles, our eating behaviors, our exercise lacking lifestyles, our cognitive depletion lifestyles, those are all risk factors for developing our own dementia. And it's like, let's not be pointing fingers. Let's look at ourselves and say, let's lift ourselves up a little bit. All those things we know we should be doing, your mom is absolutely right. You should be doing them because you don't want to be the next one up.
I am never putting my parent in a facility, myth or fact, because they're
Myth.
no good.
Myth. It's a challenge because we all wish we had the resources to provide people that which was perfect for them. I will tell you, there are some individuals who are such social animals. They do so much better in a setting where there are other people that are similar or different, but they're not the only patient or person who's not right or person who's got something wrong with them. And yet there are other people who it's a really bad match for. And yet there are some families who don't have resources to do something different, or life situations are such that it doesn't match up. So I try to avoid words like always or never because I find them hyperbole and not particularly helpful in care provision.
So keep options open.
Always open the options and say, I can't imagine doing it. And then talk to somebody who's had to. So you start to understand how you could get there so that when you, and if you ever get there, you realize it is an option. It's not one I like, but I may have to pick something I don't like from among the alternatives.
Can you help me understand a little bit about what it's like to be the person that has dementia, Alzheimer's?
Yeah. So how about we talk about caregiving? And your brain goes, well, I thought we already did that. And my brain says, no, we haven't had that conversation yet. And your brain is like, yeah, we did. No, we didn't. And so I set you up for failure because of the way I approach tasks. So I say, so tell me what you had for breakfast this morning, knowing full well you have immediate recall problems. How did you get here? Knowing full well you don't know how you get places. How much time has gone by since we started this interview when I know you can't keep up with time? I ask you complicated things when I know you can't do complicated things. How you feeling about me?
Not good.
Yeah. How you feel about yourself?
Not good.
And instead I go, wow. Now those glasses, do they work pretty well? Yeah. For close up and for far away? Listen, would you look at something for me? Now you're going to get up out of that chair and come with me to go look at something versus, Dad, you've been sitting in this chair all morning long. You have got to get up and do something. Well, could the problem be initiation?
Isn't it kind of interesting that everything you've said are things that every family should do anyway?
Oh.
Instead of nudge each other or hammer each other to do things, we need to find ways to encourage that make it something that both parties want to do.
So we are much better with each other if we take care of one another in a way we'd like to be supported. And it's the idea of support versus care and becoming a partner in care versus giving care. Because if I give, you have to be willing to receive versus if we care partner. So I want us to figure this out. How are we going to spend the next hour?
So that's a great point. It's understanding that it's two people. It's not a patient and somebody better than them. It's not a victim and a caregiver.
Because many times people living with dementia are feeling okay about what's going on until we get involved or until somebody tells them no or until something happens. And it's like, I don't need that to be all the time.
And we scare them. We make them feel useless. We poke a finger in the wound. We remind them of how messed up they are.
Now remember I told you earlier on I had to go, oh, you know what? I just realized I'm going to need to leave and I hate it because I knew you were wanting me to stay a little longer. I promise I'll be back as soon as I can. I'm going to stop by the store. What would you like me to bring you? Now, what I chose to do is to try to front end the you're leaving and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself when you're
This
gone.
this is hard. This is hard. We're not used to thinking about.
No, we're not.
Things like
We're
that.
used to having things come out of our mouth, and it's called bad habits. And in dementia care, you can't get away with bad habits and not have outcomes.
You're saying that the best way to be a good caregiver is to be a good person.
I'm so sorry.
That's it.
It's
That's
hard.
it.
No wonder we struggle.
It works best if you can really live what you believe. And I believe if I'm going to support someone, I've got to look in the mirror at myself and say, would I like that? And it's like, not really. Okay, well then why should they like it? Okay, so that idea of doing unto others, I mean, it's truly my mantra is like, I've got to take that step back and go, okay, this isn't working. Let me figure out what my part of this is. Because it's almost, I'm contributing somehow.
And is it wrong to say that we can't lose sight of the fact that it is still mom or dad?
It is still, but I may be missing them so much that I'm actually missing them. They're right there and I can't see them. So I have another saying, and it is when the disease gets this big, spend this much time with them so you can like them this much. Because if you try to spend this much time, all you'll see is their disease.
Oh, Jesus.
So I have to give you permission to limit the amount of your life you're spending with them. Because if not, you can't find them in the midst of this condition that's getting extreme. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody is meant to be a care provider or a care partner with somebody with dementia. I'm good at it, but I have family members who are like, yeah, no. And it's like, cool. Can you do the financial management? Yeah, I'm great with that. Could you hook up the computer system so we can monitor? Yes. Then that's what I need from you. Thank you.
So let's wrap up. If there's
Yeah.
one thing that we all walk away learning from you today, what do you hope that it is?
That the first step in care provision is taking care of yourself. And if you don't do a good job with that, why in the world would you think you're ready to take on this thing called dementia?
It's doable.
It's doable if you look and see, what do I need, what do I want, and what do I like? Because if we don't get something we like every day of our life, we start to die a little bit. It's the way we're built.
Well, listen, thank you for a fascinating conversation about a topic that really none of us want to look at. We
Yeah.
like doing this until we
Yeah.
have to, until we're thrust right into it. And it's something
And then
that
it's this, and it's like, oh, that's a bad idea.
it is, and it's going to affect us, it's going to affect you, it's going to affect all of us in one way or another
does,
moving
truly.
forward. So
Yeah.
the sooner we get things together and face it, the better off we'll be. And I love that basically the answer is learn to be a better person,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to do a better job as a caregiver. Teepa Snow, thank you very much.
Thanks for this is strong message to caregivers, family caregivers, and to all of us, because at some point in our life we're going to be, most probably going to be in that situation where we have to make decisions on how to look after our relatives, our parents, and even to also start planning and thinking of what it will be like when we're in that situation where others have to look after us. Will it be our children or other people or relatives or anyone that will be in that position at that time? You know, it's a serious conversation that we need to deal with. It was really heartwarming and at the same time somehow stronger listening to that expert are talking about the things that caregivers need to deal with. The first one is you must, first of all, as a caregiver, look after yourself. That's the strong one I pick up from that conversation. You have to learn how to look after yourself, look well after yourself before you can imagine taking decisions or looking after other people, even your parents. And the most significant giveaway in that conversation is she said, you have to be a good person, you know, to even ever imagine be in a position to look after other people. You have to be a good person. That's how I come to understand from the beginning that the job of a caregiver is not for everyone. Even whether you're a professional caregiver or family caregivers who does the job without pay, you're giving out you're giving out your time, your energy, your resources. And another a point I picked up from that conversation is, give yourself time. And when you already discover a situation, your relatives or parents or loved ones are in that situation, as much as you can, give yourself time, not stay 24 hours or 7 days a week there with them, and you get to a point where you're frustrated. All you see is the illness, is their faults, and you can't manage to keep yourself upright, and you annoy them the more. You push them to a point where you're worked up yourself and they are worked up, and then you meet a brick wall. Because as that conversation makes us to understand, dementia is not just about memory loss and all that. It's about brain failure. There's no better way to explain it. Brain failure. Gradually as things begin to, slow down, the brain gradually losing its function, and then at a point they're no longer in a position to process information. And that part of them that still remains, even in all that, is the dignity. It's difficult for anyone to lose that. And then any attempt for you to infringe on their dignity, you're losing touch. You get angry, they get angry, you get them worked up, at the end you meet a brick wall. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with a care home manager who was having an issue with, taking decision about looking after her own mom. And it was a difficult conversation, decision she had to make. And I asked her one question, and that question, the answer she gave, was really shocking to me. I didn't understand the full impact back then. I asked her, being you are a care home manager, would you put your mom in the care home? Without even thinking, she said, no, I will never do that. I was shocked. I was shocked to hear her say that. The implication of that, I was trying to imagine it. You are a care home manager, and you're telling me you wouldn't put your mom in a care home. Are you telling me that you don't trust what goes on in the care home? I had a lot of reservation about that, but I didn't get the chance to have her own explanation regarding that answer she gave me. But looking back now, I think I'm getting the picture clearly. From what I've just discovered, listen to this particular interview now with a professional who understand, the thoughts and insight about this. That kind of question also came up. Why will anybody say, I would never do this? It's the wrong step, because that's a manager who told me I would never put my mom in a care home. In the future, most likely to come to a point where she wouldn't be able to manage the situation by herself, because she has a lot of other responsibilities. She has a family, immediate family to deal with, and a lot of things. And then we'll be left with the last option, maybe to put her mom in a care home, and she will be devastated because that's not what she wanted. And so I would have expected if she would be in this, have this kind of awareness to say, well, I really can't tell you, depending on the situation, but if I have a choice, I will not put my mom in a care home. That would be a more reasonable answer. But I believe as at the time she gave me that answer, there is an instinct of a loving child who think well of her mother, and she actually mean well. She doesn't know, as many of us don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. None of us know what's coming. As much as you wish your relative well, you wish everyone well, but then you have yourself to take care of, to look after. Even at the point where, even though she decides I would never put my mom in a care home, and she have a lot of other things to do, and she could hardly take care of herself. So if she insists on looking after her mother by herself, without the stress of life, financial, personal struggle and all that, and she unknowingly now putting the frustration back on the poor old woman, she's not doing her well. You see? So a better option would have been, from what I've learned here, is to leave the option open. In the sense that to say, well, I really don't know, I could do that, but I wish if I have a chance, I will look after my mother by myself. But then I will hope that if it ever comes to a point where I have to put her in a nursing home, I'll make sure I go there almost every day. That's a more better way to put it, but we never can tell. I do hope you all love this information. So this matter that concerns every one of us, we need to be prepared, both for ourselves and our relative and those who are looking after and those who eventually look after us. So thanks for watching this clip with me, and I hope that we learn one or two things. Please remember to like and share and come back to this channel, because we have a lot of information to keep giving out to our caregivers, to our parents, to educate ourselves about the situation, on how to properly, with dignity, look after our loved ones and give them the best as much as we can. They're not going to be there with us all the time. As long as they're still here, we do our best to give them the best we can, with love, with compassion. Thanks once again for watching. See you in our next video. Bye for now.